oh, I'm gonna die here. That's when it really hit me, like, I'm actually gonna die in prison. You know, 15, 16 years old, I'm first of my life, I'm gonna die. I mean, like, in one sense, don't get it wrong, I felt like I deserved it. I took a life, period.
I was 16 years old when I made a tragic decision during a fight to take another person's life. It was the worst day of my life, and I've regretted it ever since. I went to prison for a very long time, and probably in the eyes of some people, it wasn't long enough. But I did the time, and I got an opportunity to get a second chance.
I grew up in West Philadelphia, and I grew up with a mother with, single mother raising 11 children. And in the course of her trying to raise all of us and working, I oftentimes found myself roaming the streets. And at the age of 17, an attempt to rob an older gentleman, because of the injuries, he passed away 10 days later, and I was charged with homicide.
When they finally made the decision, I was just, like I said, I was overwhelmed. I was just so happy.
I was in prison for 31 years before the United States Supreme Court rendered this decision.
They had been serving sentences for a long time, and we had to go back and revisit those cases. And of course, they were serving these sentences sometimes for as long as almost 50 years. So they presented a unique situation. We got to see how they turned out.
They were put in situations where they made a very, very grave decision in taking someone else's life. But I think that they have served their time. Many of these guys have served more time than adults who have also been convicted of the exact same crime.
And so ultimately, when they made the decision, we had read the oral arguments, and so there was a lot of us watching TV, paying attention to, how would they ultimately rule. And so we were very elated.
Our goal is to have people leave our system better than they came in. A key component of that is to not have any more victims, right? So no more crime, no more victims. So we feel a huge responsibility to set people up for success.
So when the Juvenile Lifer Initiative hit, we just merged them together with our already flowing reentry processes. So you had men and women that came into the department as teenagers, and almost instantly, they started to reform and change themselves. They didn't have a crystal ball. They couldn't see into the future and predict 2012, but yet they were part of organizations that gave back to the community.
To get a person out of prison who's been in prison for 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years requires a very substantial plan. You have to make sure you know where they're going to live. You may have to make sure that they have appropriate services available.
Reentry is not a destination, it's a process. We all come together and do case planning to make sure that this individual feels that they're being supported, one, and to make sure that the transition is a successful one for that individual.
The biggest problem that juvenile lifers have faced upon reentry is integration back into a world in which they did not know. People that I've talked to that have gotten out, the thing that's been most disconcerting to them was the pace in which the world operates. Prisons don't operate at that same speed.
We assess them and try to find out what some of their needs are before they even come out. We want to make sure that they have identification if we can make sure that they have it prior to getting out. We want to set them up with services such as mentoring or family reunification when they initially get out if they need those things. Also, we can be prepared to set up other referrals that might be needed, such as mental health, drug and alcohol, and then of course the mentoring on the outside as well. There's a number of resources that the Bureau of Community Corrections offers that's been really helpful.
We try to prepare our inmates for whatever obstacles that they're going to face upon release. We offer a variety of vocational and educational programs in addition to treatment and life skills classes.
I had a counselor. She, over a period of I say 3 months before I got out, she was made sure that we had conversations about this transition that's getting ready to happen.
And then when they're on the outside, the one main thing that we try to do is connect them with our community service providers, get them wraparound services so that when they do have struggles or things that they find difficult to comprehend or understand, they have someone to turn to help them along the way.
So we show them what we have to offer, and then we also show them the virtual reality of a center that would be a center closest to them, and they can get an idea of what to expect.
It helped me out a lot. So when I did go home, I knew how to, they showed me virtual reality of the center. What you do there, this area for this is for this is how you process coming in.
When the juvenile lifers started coming home, I was talking to Director Rupert, and she was like, we should have a support group. I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to do a support group.
Yeah, we started this support group at CCC number 2 when the first couple juvenile lifers were released, and it's been such a success. It's really neat because a lot of these guys grew up together, basically. They're each other's family in a way, because that's who they knew.
And what I love about the support group is that the men who have done so well, when they come back and they let the new guys see, this is what I've done.
It is so wonderful to have something, if it's a problem, we all could go there and just cut loose. We talk about relationship and what to do and what not to do, and I have opportunity to meet my parole agent there. We got so much support, and I'm so glad that the guys are doing the right thing, they're staying on point. And I don't think it would happen if we didn't have that support group. And people really showing that they care about us.
We have to remember that when we're talking about juvenile lifers, we're talking about people who have taken a life. And oftentimes in this kind of broader discussion, that seems to have frequently gotten lost in the conversation and in the media coverage. And we can't forget that there are grieving family members all across the country in light of Miller v. Alabama. And this was a shock. That's why it's so important that the victim's involvement is at least constantly at the forefront of everyone's decision-making processes.
As Jennifer Storm noted, it was very, very important to try to get input from the victims. In each of these cases, I've tried to involve the victims' families. In the really old cases, some of them, there is no family left.
I think the group of victims of these juvenile lifers was a really unique group in that they went to court. They were told that the individual who committed the crime would never get out again. And now they have to confront this issue that's not accurate.
I gotta live, I got to do better, I got to be better, I got to be an example now for my victim. I have to be not this perfect person, but this person who lives his life in contrition. I have to make up for what I did. And I know that's impossible and it sounds crazy, but I'm gonna try.